Okay, so hello, my name is Dustyn Lewis, and the poem I have chosen is A Noiseless Patient Spider by Walt Whitman. Before I explain how I have offered a unique perspective on this poem, I first want to point out the woven background I have chosen for this project. In Whitman's poem, the thread of the soul is constantly being woven and expanded, but at some point a connection is made. This background is a constant reminder of this hopeful idea and serves as visual reinforcement. Alright, so in this presentation, I'm first going to give some background on Walt Whitman as a poet. Second, I will break down the lines of the poem and briefly explain them. Next, the final slides will offer my visual interpretation of the lines as well as explanation for these drawings. So Walt Whitman was born early 17th century and lived to be 72. Originally born on Long Island, Whitman and his family moved to Brooklyn where Whitman attended public school. By age 12, Whitman had to drop out of school and find work. He learned the trade of printmaking, within which he found a love for written word and language. In 1836, at the age of 17, Whitman began a teaching job due to a fire that destroyed his previous work. 5 years into the teaching, he quit his job and began a career in journalism. Along with his newspaper, The Long Islander, Whitman also founded a Free Soil newspaper called the Brooklyn Freeman. In 1848, he founded the Brooklyn Freeman in 1848. By 1855, Whitman released his first edition of Leaves of Grass, which most notably received praise from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Whitman served as a nurse during the Civil War and remained in Washington where he served for many years following the Civil War. Whitman later lived with his brother and then in Camden where he wrote poetry as his physical condition declined as a result of multiple strokes. Okay, so here's the analysis. The first two lines, the speaker notices a lone spider on a little promontory. This just means a little ledge. In lines 3 through 4, the spider, in order to explore its surroundings, sends out web threads. And the speaker notes that the spider does this tirelessly and ceaselessly. In the next lines, the poem switches and addresses the speaker's soul, which is similar to the spider in that it's isolated and strayed in a seemingly measureless ocean of space. The speaker's soul, like the spider, will ceaselessly explore and search for connections. Connections such as relationships or purpose. In lines 9 through 10, the extended metaphor concludes, as the speaker says, the soul stops when the bridge is formed or the anchor holds. The soul longs to find relevance in its place within its surroundings. So, the picture here shows a spider on a ledge. The colors are inverted as to emphasize the space that surrounds the spider. The black surrounding also imparts a sense of hopelessness and detachment as the spider is isolated. And I'll read the first two lines. A noiseless, patient spider. It marked where, on a little promontory, it stood isolated. So now the spider is of course launching its threaded webs to the surroundings as to find a connection to which it may build its new web. The spider does this endlessly and in all directions. It has no choice, as this is the only way the spider can end its isolation. And that I've drawn that here. Now I'll read. Marked how to explore the vacant vast surrounding. It launched forth filament out of itself, ever unreeling them, ever tirelessly speeding them. So suddenly, just as in the poem, the spider disappears like a flip switch. The colors are now reverted, and an unknown, unidentifiable cluster sits in the center of this new space. I'm describing the photo, or the drawing. This is the soul. This represents the soul. Like the spider, it longs for connections. The space around it is seemingly empty with stray paths and lines. And I'll read. And you, O my soul, where you stand, surrounded, detached, in measureless oceans of space. Finally, the cluster finds a connection. all paths reveal themselves, and the space no longer seems so vast and open. And I'll read the lines. Ceaselessly musing, venturing, throwing, seeking the spheres to connect them, till the bridges you will need to be formed, till the ductile anchor holds, till the gossamer thread you fling, catch somewhere. Oh, my soul. So basically, the poem ends on a hopeful note. Initially, the space is portrayed as an unimaginable and navigable space. The spider, a single force, is desperate for contact within this space. This metaphor clearly illustrates Whitman's idea of the life in the living soul, wandering through time, hoping for relationships of purpose. The poem ends on a positive note, with the possibility that all the search and exploring is not in vain, and that the soul may find an anchor and cease the need to continuously venture. Thank you.